Okay,
Welcome, everyone. Today is Monday, June 21st, 2021, here for the regular Board of Trustees meeting for Orange Township. Call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Today is Monday, June 21st, 2000. That come through?
I heard you, Trustee Grumbles. Lisa, if you're there.
Yes, I heard.
Okay.
Did he ask me to call roll? I didn't hear that part.
Ms. Kraft, if you could please call roll.
Thank you. Mr. Grumbles?
Yes, here.
Ms. Taranto?
Here.
Mr. Rivers?
Here.
All right, we're going to start today off by moving into executive session. I see, Mr. Griggs, that you're on the line here. Can you give a verbal confirmation of that?
Yeah, the board's gonna need to make a motion to recess into executive session.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure you were present.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-206, enter into executive session. Whereas the Board of Trustees for Orange Township need to move into executive session to conference with an attorney for the township concerning disputes involving the township that are the subject of pending or imminent legal action.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Invited to attend executive session, Trustee Grumbles, Trustee Taranto, Trustee Rivers, Miss Bonnie, and Miss Kraft, Fiscal Officer Kraft.
And Pete Griggs, our counsel.
I'm Pete Gregg, our Township Council, Pete Greggs. All right. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-207, return to regular session.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
All right. While we were in executive session, we discussed with legal counsel the Franklin Street Railroad crossing. The township continues to oppose the closing at this time, and there is going to be a projected evidentiary hearing on October 12th that the county, Delaware County, Orange Township, and our collective legal staff will collaborate on in order to address and prepare for that hearing. All right. Next, we're going to go into our zoning hearing. So we're going to exit our township board meeting now and transition over to and open our zoning hearing for two applications: zoning application 21-02, independent living at South Old State, and zoning application 21-03, the McCready single family planned residential proposal. Miss Bonnie.
All right, thank you, trustees. We did have, this is the second hearing on application number zone-21-02 of the Real Property Design and Development LLC. Development's name is Independent Living at South Old State. Based on the first hearing, the board did recommend some changes as far as the site layout goes and increasing the setback, particularly along the eastern property line. The applicant did do that. The setback is 42 feet from the eastern property line, as opposed to what it was previously at 30 feet. But that's all I really have. I think we heard from the public in the first meeting, and the applicant's here if you have any further questions. And Val, I'm going to go share my screen so I can show the site plan. Mhm.
Miss Bonnie, just to clarify for anyone watching, I think what we had discussed was the northeast or top right corner that previously was a 3-unit building, and the proposal was to decrease that to 2 units. And you can see that there's a square of 42 feet from a setback standpoint. And as mentioned in the last meeting, there's an additional setback, if I'm not mistaken, on the residential side as well. So collectively, it's a good buffer between I think it was, most of them were 30 feet or so. I know that the applicant had mentioned that. So that was the primary change. During that process, if memory serves, there was storm sewer and different utility constraints that prohibited moving the north wall of units, if you will, or the row of units, reorganizing the layout. And the applicant did speak to working through potential options with architects, and they could not find a alternative that would provide a solution that was viable for them. There was some other discussion on moving gazebo, I think, and some other things like that. But overall, it looks like the things that were surfaced in the conversation were addressed. I don't have any questions or anything, Ms. Bonnie. If the other board members have any, feel free to speak up.
I don't have any questions, but I know this was a unanimous 5-0 vote in zoning, and the applicant took the request from the board and has made those adjustments, from what went from zoning to the board. So I know the applicants, put a lot of effort in here to getting to the finish line here of something that everyone's happy with.
John, I appreciate you making those changes. I think it's a good compromise. I think it's probably a good product. What else could go in there could be much worse. Not saying it's worse. Not as conducive to work with the neighborhood. So I do think it was some good compromise, and I appreciate that. So I don't have any additional questions.
I did want to say too that I did find it favorable that the residents, even though some of them disagreed, they spoke to your collaborative nature and willingness to listen and work with them. That's always something I listen for and appreciate when applicants come before the board, and the residents were consistent on that in that regard. I did want to point out as well that the comprehensive plan that the township is working on, and the recommendation that came from prior studies and efforts to modify our zoning. We talked in depth last meeting about that and about how this plot of land was slated to move and transition into a planned elderly residential district anyway. And so inevitably, I think it's important for residents to know in that area that this is a matter of time, not much more, because if this application came before the board after we had updated our comprehensive plan, there'd be minimal conversation here, so long as you didn't have divergences or anything that were extraordinary, and I don't believe you did. So it's worth noting that, again, it'd be a matter of time, and I do echo Trustee Taranto that I think this is one of the more responsible proposals. When you look at vacant land and the density and the things like that, that could go in here, because at some point it's obvious that the landowners and such, you're looking to develop this property. So thank you for your efforts on this and for being responsive to not only the residents but the board. And I think it's good. I did agree, by the way, with it being a single level. There were line of sight concerns and eavesdropping and that kind of thing. And I looked over your proposal with the showed the front and the rear elevations and things like that. And I do think that's going to be a lot more favorable when the construction is done. And yeah, exactly. And you look at the elevation there, and I just don't see that as being facilitating that kind of thing with the growth of the trees and the landscape plans. So thank you for being so responsive, and turn it over to you, sir, if you have any comments.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the comments. I just, I guess, wanted to say I appreciate those, you all working with me and the neighbors coming out with some suggestions that, we did try to implement here as much as possible. I do believe this is going to be an excellent product, well sought after product in Orange Township, and I'm looking forward to, if I'm lucky enough to get approval tonight, to move forward with the project. So thank you.
Sorry, I was on mute there. Ms. Bonnie, do you have any further comments?
I do not.
All right. I feel like it's pretty good pulse on based on the feedback I heard. So I'm going to go ahead and read Resolution 21-208 to adopt the recommendation of approval, modifications of the zoning commission as to zoning application 21-02 of Real Property Design and Development LLC for independent living at Old State Plan Elderly Residential District.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Just for the record, the development's actually South Old, independent living at South Old State. I forgot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Bonnie, it's your floor again.
Okay. So the second zoning application to be heard tonight is zoning application number zone-21-03. This is our first hearing on this application. The applicant is Plan for Land LLC with the owners of the McGreedy family. The site's located at 5576 South Old State, just north of the intersection of South Old State and Lewis Center Road. The property is approximately 2.27 acres, and they are requesting a rezoning from farm residential district to single family plan residential district to allow for 3 single family homes on their site. Surrounding areas is all a single family district. This is a zoomed out aerial. This is the site plan that was provided, so it does show the 3 homes. Part of the zoning commission discussion was this tree preservation easement that the applicant has agreed to preserve the open space. It's part of our requirements at least 20%, and the applicant will exceed much higher than that. Overall, this was a fairly simple application. The only divergence the applicant is requesting is that they wish to not plat this particular site, as they believe it can be accomplished through the development plan commitments, and that was discussed to include the tree preservation language in the development text, because typically that would be shown on a plat, but we have it in the development text, which is something zoning can enforce. The Delaware County Regional Planning Commission did recommend the conditional approval. The regional planning did ask for it to be platted as part of the recommendation. However, the zoning commission, as mentioned, was primarily concerned with the open space and making sure that was permanent within the language. And they did, so the commission recommended unanimously with that one recommendation to add that language. The applicant did address these in the modifications submitted to the board today. And the applicant is here if you have any further questions.
I do not have any questions.
Questions for me? It seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty straightforward. I don't have any questions.
Does the applicant want to make any comments before we take a
No,
vote
this
here?
is Joe Clace with Plan. Yeah, this is Joe Clace with Plan for Land. I don't have anything in addition to add. I just appreciate the zoning staff working with us to find the appropriate zoning district and find a way to make this application work out. And appreciate the board's consideration. Thanks.
All right, make a motion to approve resolution 21
I'm sorry, Trustee Grumbles. If I can, just to note for the record, we did notify the adjacent residents, and it does not seem anybody attended this evening for comment.
Sorry, I skipped over that. I didn't see after the last applicant, I only saw the person that just spoke, so I didn't.
We're good to go.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-209 to adopt the recommendation of approval with modifications of the zoning commission as a zoning application 21-03 of Plan for Land LLC for McCready Plan Single Family Residential District.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Bonnie, anything else for this hearing?
No, I think we are good to close the 2 zoning hearings.
All right, I'll go ahead and close the zoning hearings and transition back to the regular Board of Trustees meeting. There any agenda changes?
Hi, this is Lisa. I would like to see if I could go in front of Silas just for procedural, getting an appropriation approved before he asked for the money for, asked for the PO for the appropriation. So
Okay, so you're basically asking to move the fiscal office before operations?
please.
Okay. Okay. Any other agenda changes?
I have none.
Consent agenda has typical electronic records and from the prior board meeting. And there are 2 purchase orders. Any concerns with the consent agenda?
No.
Okay. 209. Motion to approve resolution 21-210 and 21-211 of the consent agenda.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Bonnie.
All right. I will just briefly go over the zoning meetings report. As we all heard tonight, we had 2 hearings. The first was for the McReady Single Family Plan Residential District, application number zone-21-03. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the second one. And then the first one prior to that was approving the zoning application zone-21-02 of the independent living at South Old State. Upcoming Tuesday, June 29th at 7 p.m., the Zoning Commission will be hearing a minor development plan amendment for the Evans Farm Single Family Plan Residential District. This is application number zone-21-04. On Tuesday, July 6th at 7 p.m., we, as of Friday, we got a new Route 23 overlay application. And I believe the trustees were copied on that. If not, we will send that out soon. Application number RCOD 21-02. This is a multi-family proposal at the corner of Shanahan and 23. And this is a tidbit of it. So it's not listed on here, but given the time of the submittal, this will be heard on the July hearing. Or the next, the July trustee meeting. Following that, on Thursday, July 15th, the BZA has only 1 application. It's an area variance regarding a swimming pool. And then, of course, Monday on July 19th, we will have the Sheets overlay application to be discussed then. So again, there's 2 overlay applications that will be scheduled for the July trustee meeting. And that's all I have for the meetings report.
Miss Bonnie, I don't know if regarding your last note there on Sheets, I know we were discussing an independent traffic study. I met with a Delaware County Engineer's Office last week in regards to this and multiple other topics. They shared with me, similar to what we heard and from the applicant's engineer. It's a formula approach that's consistent in the industry. However, when you look at the way averages are calculated, it's not going to be community or intersection specific. And so I just, before we move on, since that is a topic you shared, from an old business standpoint, I did want to revisit that, and from an opinion or consent or whatever standpoint, I know that the Sheets applicant was expecting to hear back from us, and as one of the 3 board members, I do think it would be in our best interest to assess that intersection and the traffic pattern change and so on and so forth as a township. And I know the county's willing to collaborate on, if we do that on findings and kind of help translate things for the board if we need them to. But I did want to bring that up.
Would you like me to see if the county engineers can be present at the July hearing? Would that be helpful?
That might be, but for sake of notifying Sheets, I think we should revisit the intent to do that as a board before we close out of the zoning topic and decide if there's a second board member that wants to pursue that or not, and then at least move forward from that standpoint.
In Holly's email, she was going to research having a study done, cost, and she was going to provide us that information. Did that happen, Michelle?
I think we were able to find one firm. We were having some difficulties because firms that have worked with the county were not interested in, it was a conflict of interest on their end. So I think we branched out a little further, and my understanding is she is talking to a firm. But if that's not what the board wants, I mean, we can.
I think I'm not looking for the numbers or the finalized plans or any of that. All I'm simply doing is making sure that we surface that as a desired intent, pending the formality, just to make sure that someone reaches out to the applicant and says, hey, they are working on doing this. So they're 100% certain that it's something we desire to do and we're working towards. Does that make sense?
Sure, yes, yep. Holly and I have been giving Sheets frequent updates.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I did want to share that note from the engineer's office. So, all right, thank you, Ms. Bonnie.
Sure.
All right, we're going to move the fiscal officer report.
I'm sorry, Trustee
sorry,
Goebbels.
go ahead.
I do have one other thing on the agenda under zoning report.
Okay.
If the board still wish to continue or discussing that item regarding
Yes.
okay. I actually have Jeff Beard here too, as he's been involved with this. So I'd like to open it up to him, and Jeff, I'll pull up your backup information or backup materials and I'll show whatever you'd like.
Okay, yeah, if you want to just pull up that, we can kind of go through that.
Okay.
The property in question here is at 7235 Holderman Street. We received a permit application for a pergola at this address. When staff reviewed the permit, they realized that it was in the setbacks. We reached out to the individual and actually had a plan drawn up showing where the pergola could go to be compliant with the setbacks. Did not receive any feedback from him. This was the original plan, and then the next one was the one that we had provided to the residents. Not hearing anything back from them. I went out and investigated to see if they had built anything, as we had not approved the permit yet. And there was something that was constructed. It was a pergola that's on a kind of a little deck area. We sent a violation letter as it was constructed without a permit. Had no response. Sent a second letter. They responded, but they didn't. There's some cultural differences. Resident didn't understand why he wasn't allowed to put it there with the setbacks. I try to explain as simply as possible of the issue. Then based on this, it was hard to tell how that decking was put into the ground. So I reached out to legal counsel and spoke with them. If you go down a little further, some of these pictures, legal counsel had advised me that I could go on the trail that's open space behind there that's township maintained to get some better photos of the decking to see if it's in the ground or how it's built. It's still a little difficult to tell with our definition of what a structure is. We wanted to bring it to you, to the trustees, to see if this is something that the trustees wish to pursue. The next steps would be, we would be sending it to the prosecutor's office, as we have sent a certified letter to the property. They did not sign for it, but they did receive other letter. When we send certified letters, we'll send one regular mail also at the same time, so we know at least it gets delivered in their mailbox. And then our next step would go to the prosecutor's office, and they would investigate and spend their time and efforts trying to get them to cooperate. And then the next step would come to you guys to pursue legal action if you wish. We're just trying to get clarification on if this is something that the trustees would want to pursue or not. We don't want to waste everybody's time and efforts if we don't have to. And then I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you want, I can give you the definition of what's in our zoning code as a structure. If that's something that would help.
Did you say that somebody brought this to your attention?
It was brought to us that he was going to put this in. And then when he applied, the drawings that he'd submitted was not in compliance. And then we sent drawings back to him showing where it could be put in compliance, and never had any response. So the permit was still pending. He thought since he applied for a permit and paid for it that it was approved.
Okay.
But so when we went out, it was built.
I'll think about it. I don't want us all sit here silently. So I'll think about it on my end.
Well, we do need consensus on whether or not we should move forward with pursuing this violation. Unless you want me to table this to a later date.
Ms. Bonnie, and Mr. Beard, could I ask a question? Because looking at the local picture, the current picture rather, and the material that you showed prior, I know that you had drafted a drawing of where it could go versus where it is. Just looking at this drawing, where would they be able to?
Yeah.
You can kind of, if you, I'm asking for it like from an actual picture, so we can reference where. Like that's fine right there. So basically, it's next to the tree right now in the back, correct?
Yeah. Pretty much it would be up on that concrete area.
Patio.
Yep.
And can you go back to the current picture from the back? It looks like they expanded that patio too.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, I think in the other picture it was much smaller than that. Like
Yeah.
half the size.
Yeah, they put like a basketball hoop. It extends behind the house and then off to the side, but it meets that 35 feet setback. And that was done. That was actually brought to us from the HOA as they were doing the concrete work without a permit. And then they applied for a permit and got a permit approved for that.
Oh, okay.
So, but the pergola itself would not be a violation because it's not permanently attached. It would be considered movable. It's more the decking, how it's attached to the ground. With the pergola on top of it, it makes the pergola.
So can we send them in the certified letter we sent, did we tell them like, remove the decking and you're okay?
It doesn't necessarily say that. It says to contact us for remedy. It tells them that they're in violation, that they don't have an approved permit. And it has the pictures of the pergola decking. I did speak with the individual and try to explain to him where it could be, and also explain that if he got rid of the decking, that it would be okay.
Yeah, and just for the trustees' understanding, I mean, we really do our best to avoid taking any of these up to the board for consideration. Typically the only time that we will do that is if we've exhausted our efforts.
What would be the process, the prosecutor? I mean, if you approach the prosecutor and say, we want this fixed and addressed.
Yeah, so we would take legal action, and we've only done this a couple of times, but it go to the trustees, and if the trustees approve that it was, is it a nuisance, Jeff, or what do we call it?
I'm not sure how this one would actually fall through. It would go to the prosecutor's office first. The prosecutor's office would send their investigator out to get pictures and look at it. And then they would send a letter, a violation letter from the prosecutor's office, and give them a deadline to fix the problem. And then after that, it would come to the trustees to see if we wanted to take it to the court.
And then we would have them force remove it.
Okay. So I haven't had a chance to try and reach contact with this individual because it's actually in our neighborhood. There was a communication difficulty that Mr. Beard mentioned when I inquired about this, and thought maybe we could, if I go over or find a friend of a friend or that type of thing, we might be able to get this fixed before we burden the prosecutor's office. Would it be realistic if we table until the 19th meeting? And if I'll know sooner than that, and we could address it if we have a special meeting between now and then or at that meeting? Is there a risk with that timeline at all?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like I said, we really give them as much time as we find reasonable, and we've been working, this is probably almost a year.
I'm fine if we want to approach the homeowner and see if we can make some progress on the communication front and see where it goes, and we can table it till next month.
Fine with you, Trustee Taranto?
Yes.
Okay, I'll reach out through, I know their neighbor, and see if we can fix this without a legal, turning it into a legal matter, okay?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right. Miss Bonnie, is that it?
That's all I have for now.
Okay. We're going to move the fiscal officer report up. Ms. Kraft, you're up.
Okay, great. I'll get started with the resolutions first. Getting to that part of the agenda there. The first item on my report is there's been a request for Mike Kelly to get one of our purchase cards. and for a credit limit of $2,000, which is the same as Aaron James's credit limit. So that is the first resolution, is to add a credit card for him. The second resolution I have is for a discussion around pay change for Leanne Newman, who has been with Fiscal for over 2 years. She has continued to take on increasing responsibility, including significant work related to pulling audit documentation, point and pay deposits, basically really anything we throw at her, she manages. She's still doing this under 20 hours a week. She's been dependable. She's a team player. She has helped out for other departments when they are either overtasked or short-staffed or under deadline. So I know that she's appreciated by others here internally. And we would like, given the similarities in job descriptions as far as some of the tasks required and responsibilities, we would like to bring her up to $22 an hour, which is where the new front desk person, her hourly wage is. So I'd like consideration for that. And then the third item is why I needed to kind of move up on the agenda is Silas is going to be requesting PO approval for fixing the roof at 361. But before you guys can approve a PO for it, we need to make sure the money is appropriated. So that's what you'll see the appropriation for. The $450,000 is for the roof. So, and then subsequent to that is the PO itself for $426,818. And that is actually supposed to go under Silas. So I'm going to move that resolution under Silas since I'm asking for the money for him, and he needs to get you guys to approve the contract first. So those are the items I have under the fiscal. I think the other things I have are under old business. So yes, that's all I've got for fiscal. So are there any questions or discussion we'd like to have on any of those items?
Leanne does a great job. And I have no issue with that. I appreciate her very much. I know I know she's made your job a lot easier, Lisa.
Yes.
I'm glad that I know that change is never easy, and I know she had an adjustment between fiscal officers and normal type thing to happen, but has done a tremendous job and communicates out to us with Todd, on what they need from the board. I will tell you, her and Miss Bunting partnered on the director of operations interview process, and I'll tell you what, that was extremely well done. Not really something in her position description, but stepped up and knocked it out of the park. I mean, the time that we were on time and had water set out at really a different level from a process standpoint than the department head discussions and the other ones that I had. It was just, the organization was impeccable. So very impressed there and very welcoming to all the candidates. So that's kind of what we're looking for, and I think sends the right message that we want folks to take from the township. So no concerns here with that.
Great. I agree with everything you guys said. She actually, on the day of the director of ops interviews, found out about that when she got to work that morning. So she rolled with it.
Yeah, if I can add to Leanne, when Val was out on her vacation, Leanne stepped in and helped me put the trustee packets together for the last meeting. So it's nice to award employees that are, really willing to take part in anything and be a team.
The only other question I have with what you presented, well, there's two questions. One, I'll probably kick back to Silas with the roof. I remember in prior discussion, there was questions about a $500,000 roof, and I think it was about other material options and things like that. Can you remind the board what's the significance of the metal roof versus shingles or any other material? Silas or Michelle or Chief McNeil either?
Yeah, sorry, Chief, go ahead.
Sorry, this is Chief McNeil. Sir, the difference was a 50-year roof with the metal, and then you're looking at 20 years with the shingles. And currently with the shingles, we've had a lot of issues with them blowing off. Plus, part of the roof being flat has caused some issues. So it's basically the time that it would last, the length.
It'd be $200,000 to put a shingle roof on, or $400,000 to put a metal roof on and get an extra 10 years kind of thing.
Well, sir, you get 20 years and 50, so you're looking at another 30 years with a metal roof. So,
right. That's what I was saying. What I was trying to get at was the cost projected cost of putting shingles back on versus if the shingled roof was 200,000, for example, you double that, you get to 400, you get 40 years out of it. You're still 10 years off, and it's it's at par with the metal roof.
Yes, sir.
I'm just
Yes, sir.
trying to find out if we got a quote for flipping the shingles.
Yes, sir. That was originally, I believe it was around 200, and this was before my time. It was originally went for the shingles, and then it was decided on to not go with shingles, to go with the metal. From my understanding, with the board, everyone involved, and that's why it went to was given to the company that was to go out and find for the metal roof.
Okay. Any questions from the other board members?
I do not.
I have none.
Okay. And then Ms. Kraft, just to confirm, you said that Mike Kelly's credit card will be the same as Aaron?
It will be.
Okay, Aaron's listed in the chart in the agenda or in the template at 2,000. Is it 2,000 or 2,500?
It's 2,000. Val and I talked about getting that correct about that
Okay.
earlier. So I've got it on my copy at 2,000.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, I'll get through these here. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-212 to authorize the fiscal office to obtain a credit card to First Commonwealth Bank for Parks and Facilities Manager.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Motion to approve resolution 21-213, pay increase for part-time fiscal office assistant.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes, and I'd like to thank Leanne for doing a great job as well.
Thank you.
1-214, revising and or increasing permanent appropriations established in resolution 20-401.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
We'll go backwards to go forward here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling that out. And kick over to operations. Mr. Bowers.
Thank you. As we just discussed, we have the fire department roof on board. I'm happy to answer any of the questions. I think Chief kind of got the majority of that. This design bid build was submitted before both of our times, so we kind of picked it up here and resurrected it recently. Again, the contract, again, it looks like a proposal that's been approved recently, as early as February, that is being picked back up. Questions on that, like I said, I can answer it. If not, I would request the board's approval to move forward with that purchase order, to contact the vendor and to move forward with the roof replacement.
You want to talk about the project manager role here too?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, the project manager, maybe even the operations manager position, discussing internally here, all the different projects that are in motion. I know I've talked with several of the trustees as well. We have roughly 15 to 20 different capital improvement projects that are in motion right now. Some of them have sat idle for a little bit. Some of them have been moved forward a little bit at a time. The concept of restructuring the township, putting the necessary pieces into place is where this position came from. What the goal is with this position is to kind of a multifaceted approach, but this position is being presented to assist our community with all the different capital improvement projects that we have going on. Includes county projects, township projects involving roads, township projects involving parks, lands, buildings, everything that we rely on engineering in the county and our internal staff for. Current workload, as I mentioned, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 projects. And, one of the things I've noticed in my short time here is the amount of communication that's required to take those projects forward and to move the needle a little bit each week. Some of them require a lot more than others, which is to be expected. But I think this position would be able to better manage those and assist me in managing these projects and moving them forward at a better pace and also more efficiently. We have a lot of reliance on contractual engineering consultants, which is obviously necessary. Having some of that control in-house would be really helpful, and I think would really increase our efficiency of these different projects that are in play right now. Along with that, I think the scheduling component would be a huge asset to the township. As I mentioned, a lot of these projects have sat idle, have really taken longer than needed to. Some of them are communication related, some are timing, some are funding. There's a lot of different pieces that go into play with all the different projects that are in motion. Scheduling and the expectations of the residents with the communication side of this can really be improved with this position. We look a lot at the short and long term and the future planning, whether you want to call it a 1, 3, 5, 10-year plan, or however you like to classify that. I think the projects in motion right now will not go away. I mean, these projects will get completed and there'll obviously be more in the queue. Very strong, very passionate township. I'd like to be able to be more efficient and better at moving these projects ahead while also looking at what the future is going to hold, whether it be park improvement projects as part of the upcoming master plan, future road improvements, along with some of the grant opportunities that are out there, that we'll be able to better take advantage of those. Again, I think the ultimate plan would be to have a better delivered product to our residents through the different communication channels, for a progressive nature of getting these projects set up, grant funded, aligned, and move forward and moving on to the next one, but also with our communication with them to provide status updates more often, to provide more inspection, more oversight for the projects. So again, having this person would really afford us a lot of conveniences, but also a lot of improvements in our operations in regards to all the projects that are in play in the township, not just the current ones, but the future ones as well.
Silas, I'm 100% behind this position. We've needed it for a long time. We used to have someone similar in this role. It saves the township money. It moves things forward efficiently and much faster. You have a support and someone that you can count on because you are juggling so many things between the two departments. This is probably one of the more important positions that I think we need to fill. We also are not dependent on an outside third party overseeing some of our projects and things get missed. The ownership is not there. You need an owner's rep per se to make sure that all of our needs are met and that our projects are handled the way we want them and done well. When you have a third party, sometimes that can fall through the cracks. I can't say enough about this position. I'm really glad to see it come forward again, and I'm 100% in support of this. Good call on that one.
Yeah, I looked over the position description. The only thing and I'm okay with this, but I think I'd like to also take a swing at the grant writing. I think they go hand in hand, right? We're going to know what we have in the pipeline. We're going to know where we're short on funds, and the relationship that this individual would have to form with, regional planning, the county, things like that, just through the day-to-day workload, I think would equip them with a unique awareness, working with Doug Riedel, things like that, to really get in front of grants. I know we have someone working on them now in a consulting kind of capacity, but they'd have incentive to really press. And we have opportunities that I think we really need to take advantage of with grants, and also getting on to the state budget, biannual budget that comes every 2 years, and missing that cycle, it's a long wait. And working with the county and partnering and building those relationships, they would be able to start networking with the right folks to build momentum and for the township, and get potential money from the state earmarked for major projects. I know one that has been discussed in the past, for example, is a Veterans Memorial, but there's other major projects that that we could lobby for at the State House and try and get some momentum for in the county. I mean, we're the fast growing county, and educate, all the demographics here are favorable, and we should be able to get some attention at the State House and with some of these grants. So I would like to add that into the position description. Otherwise, I thought it read fine.
I think it'll allow us to be more proactive instead of reactive, and not always behind on projects, but looking ahead for the future. I think this could really be a benefit to Orange Township.
Mr. Rivers, any thoughts here? Hello? They coming through still okay?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I didn't know if there are any other comments or considerations from Ms. Kraft, Trustee Rivers, anybody else? This is just step one. We get that position description locked in with the grant stuff and the fund, seeking out funds for projects, et cetera. And I think it's okay by me. Heard from Trustee Taranto. So, all right. Thank you, Mr. Bowers. I think I've got the fair enough pulse. I didn't hear any other feedback.
Thank you.
I think it's a great idea.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-215 to accept the position description for the employment position of project manager with modifications discussed.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-216, accepting the bid and awarding the contract for the Orange Township Fire Department building 361 roof replacement.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
You need to throw the PO, excuse me, Mr. Grumbles, you need to throw the PO that was at the back end of mine on there also.
I do.
Yes, please. It'd be number
Okay.
217. It's Val, if you want to go to the end of my section. It's
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I
last,
approved the resolution to move it, so now I need to.
yeah, it's at the very bottom of my set. It's right there. Oops, she just had it. She just had it right there. No, go down, Val.
I know that.
It's basically for the PO approval. You awarded the contract, but now keep going, Val. You need to approve just the PO. It's right there.
Okay. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-217, authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Garland DBS Incorporated.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Brings us to the fire report. Chief McNeil.
Good evening. Today time, the only thing I have on the agenda is regarding our fire boat. That's been something that's we've been missing for a little bit. We were given direction on a boat that is available in Kentucky that meets all the specifications that we were looking for to be able to provide the best service as far as for rescue. It has a dive platform and also firefighting capability with a 400 GPM pump, which will allow us to be able to not only protect our community's boats, but also the marina and the restaurant that'll eventually be there. So sending a team, a couple individuals down tomorrow to look at it, to verify that it is what the company that's selling it says it is. And they're going to take it out in the water and test it and ensure that it meets all the requirements that are needed. So so we're looking at, once we verify that everything is good with the boat, we're looking at trying to purchase as soon as possible, so that way we can get a boat here, and pull it back here and get it on the water and be ready for the rest of this boating season. Mr. Grumbles, I don't know if you wanted to discuss any, since you were the one that brought it to our attention. I don't know if you have anything you want to add. I know that, we, first of all, we appreciate you finding this boat and bringing it to our attention. So it is definitely good to have the township as a whole and the trustees looking out and trying to find and locate stuff. And we do appreciate that.
Well, I got to give some credit back to you there, because it wasn't an intentional find, but periodically you stumble across things. When we had discussed the boat previously and pushed back, a lot of it was rooted in the price tag, roughly $500,000. And there was a recent incident out in Alum Creek where I saw Genoa. I passed them actually on the way to Hoover Reservoir, where my personal boat is, and I saw them pulling a John boat, which is an aluminum flat bottom essentially boat, and remembered some of those conversations. And I know we have a similar boat to them. And so, because I look at boats frequently, I get Google popping up and whatever. And when I was browsing through aluminum boats, happened across the second time this has happened, I sent one prior and didn't get a response last year, where I found a boat on Marketplace or at an auction, government auction, that was consistent with the proposal at a far more favorable cost. And in this case, the boat was manufactured by the exact same company. It had the majority of the same features, had twin motors that were in good shape, appeared to be in good shape, had good compression, good boat. The big difference was that the price tag was, I believe it was around 140 or 150. So significantly cheaper, and felt like we could probably negotiate a bit even further. But it would equip us with the right equipment. And looking at the alternatives we proposed in the fire department meeting, where we rejected the previous offer or suggested proposal, I did bring up other boats as options. And for the equipment and type of boat, I would have expected us to come close to the 200K mark, half price roughly, or over half price from what the proposal was for a 30-foot boat that would handle a team, diving, and that kind of thing. So I was really happy to stumble across it, and even more impressed when I sat down last week with Chief McNeil. One of the lieutenants in the department, Lieutenant Sapp, was prepared to discuss that with me, and found it favorable, and was willing to move towards take inspecting the boat and so forth. So I don't know if you're going to have a shop down there like we talked about, inspect the boat, but either way, I think it's a positive outcome. It saves a tremendous amount of capital for the township. It still delivers the department with the equipment they were looking for, with a few, modifications we discussed that are very affordable. And I think it's a win-win opportunity for us. The only remaining component here is where we're gonna dock the boat and store the boat. And I'm really strongly advocating to find a partner that is not going to charge the fire department to dock a boat, given the trade-off in service and safety and what we're there to do and accomplish. So when I met with the fire department, we talked about concerns that came up too with having a full-time boat crew and having to develop further expenses with diving teams. And Lieutenant Sapp assured me that those things weren't on the horizon. They didn't have any intent to do that. They leverage a dive team that's in place in another department, and that they might propose a handful of dates each year and work on getting the boat out and mobile during those key dates, such as Memorial Day or July 4th, key holidays. And with that comment, I did also suggest that we don't have any enforcement authority with the township or the fire department, but I see a boat of this caliber giving us a real advantage to work and collaborate with Delaware County Sheriff, who is limited right now with regard to Allen Creek. Also with Genoa Township Police, and folks that do have enforcement authority to make the waterway safer, because ultimately that's the problem at Allen Creek right now. And it was just a very favorable discussion. I've got to really commend Lieutenant Sapp and Chief McNeil for the collaborative approach and being willing to sit down and talk through it. So thank you both, and that's it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you sitting down with us. I appreciate you locating this, and it's definitely going to a boat that's going to be able to last into the future and support the growing community, and give us all the options that we need to protect the community the best we can. So I appreciate that.
Any other comments or questions or concerns from the board or fiscal office?
What was the final cost for that boat?
Ma'am, it's undetermined right now because right now it was listed, I believe it was $125,000. We're going down there to talk with them, and there might be some wiggle room. And then also we're looking to, there's two things on there that the boat does not have. One of them being it's a anchor system where it's with a joystick that allows us to lock in when sonar finds someone. We hit a button and it locks the boat and drives itself to stay in that point, so it stays above an individual that might be in the water, so that we can perform a dive to retrieve the body. So that's one of the things that we do need on that boat. And so, but that's, I believe, is 20,000. So I think in all, we're looking about, we had talked about maybe total being about $180,000 with adding the stuff that we need to get it to where it's going to provide the good sonar and that system to be able to lock in.
That's great. That's nice. Great. Thank you.
It sounds like we finally found our boat, so I'm happy to see it move forward.
Chief McNeil, I think you have, that sounded like consent enough to continue with the efforts underway. And I think when you get the final price, if it's assuming that it looked like it was in great shape in the photos, no holes or whatever, assuming that you get a final price, we'll have to formally approve that upon that, finding, I guess, or, if the board really wanted to, we could approve give Chief McNeil the authority to enter into an agreement with this other fire department if the boat meets the marina's maintenance check for a set amount. Since it's listed at 120, I think we could go 130 and then deal with the sonar and all that stuff separately. Any objection to that?
No.
No, I'm fine with that.
Just need to make sure the money's appropriated. I'm looking real quick while you talk. The only challenge to that is he doesn't have enough appropriated. He's got 150 for vehicles. So if it goes over 150, he wouldn't have enough. He'd have to come to the board first to get the money appropriated.
I think we're good then, because it's listed at 120 right now, and I don't think the price will go up at all when they look at it. So he can ask for the subsequent equipment. There was a body recovery tool that we had discussed too, and a couple of things. So they can get the gizmos and gadgets approved after they get that boat, I think. All right. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-218, allowing Chief McNeil to purchase a boat pending maintenance verification and condition verification not to exceed $140,000.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
All right, Chief, you're off to the races there, sir. And thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
I believe we're back to Ms. Bonnie for the administrative report.
All right, well, I only have one other thing on my agenda. This is in regards to public records training. Lisa can help me touch on this, but I believe when we did our last audit, this is something that we just need to update on assigning who is, I guess, the liaison for those trainings. And I think did I miss anything, Lisa?
You did not.
On the resolution, it is blank. I wasn't sure what the board would consider. I think previously Patty Lewis was the designee for the members.
I guess I wasn't aware. I already took my training for this term. A trustee has to take it each term. So I don't know. I'm sure everyone else has probably already taken theirs also. Is this something that we need?
Well, I think this would just be for future too.
Okay.
Just
Do you
to
do it
have-
yearly?
I'm sorry.
Do you do it yearly, do you think?
Lisa, do you know if this needs to be updated annually or?
No, I think the concern, and we haven't had our audit, they're not done with it yet, but just in talking to the auditors, the concern, it sounded like, is whoever's responding to those records requests right now, Ms. Bunting is handling the records request email box, that making sure they have the proper training as it relates to public records.
That makes sense. If Val hasn't taken that course, she may want to, just for her own education.
I'd agree there. I think it makes sense to have Ms. Bunting go through and represent the group as far as knowledge goes. Great position for that.
And Michelle, and I were just talking today actually about this. As kind of a broader picture, we do need to get some of this process, some of the records request processes documented. So she and I chatted about that today. So we'll be working together on that. And along with that, currently as the process stands, as you guys are aware, we have this records request email box, and we're trying to respond, either making sure we copy that so that everything is logged properly, because that's a real big audit piece, is making sure we have the proper logs of these requests and when they're answered, and so making sure that they're that the records request email box is copied, but that the person that's managing that box, we kind of went from Andrew to Val, and we never really talked about that, but I'm assuming that that's okay with everybody, but it's probably worth just everybody saying yes, Val should be the one that's handling that records request email box, or do we want that a change there?
I don't mind her handling it.
And no objection.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Great, thank you.
And Val, you're comfortable with that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And quite a bit of it already, so she's done a good job.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Make a motion to approve resolution 21-219, naming office manager Val Bunting the designee of Board of Township Trustees for Public Records Training.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
That is all I have.
Some old business there. Do we have anything to discuss, or?
We do. If I could just talk a little bit about the website and Civic Plus updates. As far as the website, Michelle and I have been talking about this also. Given that our new front desk or receptionist was going to be taking that over once she gets in and kind of gets her feet underneath her, she'll be transitioning and working with Nancy. So Nancy will be a great backup for that. Given that she starts next week, that the new notification system is not going to be completed till June 30th, it makes sense to push our Civic Plus agreement out another 3 months. But when making those phone calls, trying to get that done, Mr. Rivers is the only person who has access or has the ability to do that. They won't allow us in fiscal to make that change or extend our contract by 90 days. And I've sent a couple emails, and I know that the administrator has, I think, also touched base with Mr. Rivers on this, but given that if we don't do something by the end of June, we will not have a notification system. I'd like to just kind of figure out, either can I get permission to extend this, or Mr. Rivers, can you get this extended for us so that we have another quarter on our Civic Plus arrangement?
Yeah, I'm not sure how I got added. Administrator Andrew King was on the account as acting administrator. Somehow I got added. I called and verified. Our acting administrator, Michelle Bonney, is now on the account. So any changes that need to be made or any questions, she can call and is on the account.
Okay, great. And is there any, does anybody have any concern with extending for another quarter? Like I said, the new notification systems, it was just voted on at the last meeting, so they're not going to have that ready by June 30th. So is there any concern with extending for another quarter?
None from me.
No, I don't think we have a choice.
Okay, great. Well, then I'll work with Miss Bonnie on getting that extension completed.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything on the website?
No, I mean, it's just, like I said, we've been working on our piece. Go Media has been working on their piece. And with Jessica coming on, then we can really get to the final training and get closer to pushing the content. I just need to make sure we've got to do another final review. All the departments have given feedback, and a lot of that's been incorporated, as well as new imagery, which is good. So hopefully, I'm optimistic, hopefully in the next 30 days.
Any other comments or issues to discuss tonight from anyone?
I don't.
Okay, hearing none, make a motion to approve resolution 21-220, meeting adjournment.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Thank you all.